Welcome to Slasher Sunday. So, I was going through, because lately I've been kind of trying to figure out, we've covered a lot of slashers on this channel. I did like hundreds and hundreds of them before Kaylee came on, and we've done like 100 since. We've done a lot.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of slashers. So, the well is starting to run a bit dry when it comes to slashers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've done them all. There's a lot of really shitty ones that I don't have any interest in covering, and I don't want to, because our time is so limited now together to watch movies that I'm like,
I know.
I really don't want to watch garbage.
Yeah.
I used to be okay with like, oh, let's watch freaking Bloody Murder.
Because we had tons of time. Well, not tons of time, but we did.
We had a lot of time.
We had a lot of time.
We had a lot of time.
And now we are very limited because I don't get home from work until like 6, and I'm working Monday through Friday.
You have to go to bed so early.
And I have to go to
get
bed
up
so early.
And it's so lame.
Yeah, we're trying to be more choosy with what we do. Picky.
Choosy is good too. But yeah, so I was going through some slasher lists, and I saw Hollow Man on that list. And I saw Hollow Man in the theaters in 2000 when it came out. And I remember some of it, but I remember I was reading about it and a bunch of things, and it was like, it's number one, the thing that caught my attention the most. Because I remembered that Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Shue were in it for sure. I did not remember Josh Brolin was in it, which definitely was a selling point as well, because I think he's great. But my number one thing that caught my eye that I did not remember at all is that Paul Verhoeven was the director. And that really piqued my interest. I was like, oh, whoa, what? Paul Verhoeven from like Total Recall, RoboCop, like Starship Troopers, that guy? Like, whoa. Because people were saying, oh, it's really nasty, graphic, gory. And I was like, with that director, I believe you. Because Starship Troopers and RoboCop are nasty, graphic movies. And I was like, oh, wow, really? Interesting. And people were calling it a slasher. And I was like, I don't remember that, but now that I think about it, the concept of the Invisible Man, it's like an invisible slasher.
Right,
and
yes.
We watched it, and I will agree that in the end it becomes a slasher for sure.
Yeah.
So
I
the
do
last
think that.
15, 20 minutes is definitely a slasher.
Yes.
So I'm fine with calling this a slasher.
Just to also, because I actually did see this when I was younger. I don't know when I would have seen it. I don't think I saw it. It came out in 2000. I probably saw it like...
Something that you're just touching the...
yeah. I probably saw like a year or two after, because I remember being fairly young. And I remember this like DVD, we had it. And I also remember that I was scared by this film, but I didn't really remember much of it. So now, having watched it, I totally get why this film bothered me.
Yeah. So, okay. First thing I'll say about this film is the special effects for the time are incredible.
They really are.
Like, most of them hold up to the standards of today as far as special effects go. Really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the CGI is obviously of the time to a degree, but still impressive for that time.
And not bad. Like, not like cheesy, weird looking CGI. Like, it looks dated in a way, but all the stuff with like the invisible like touching of fabric and like
God, that's
all of that,
amazing.
I was like, how are they doing it? Like, what? So it was great. I thought that was really, really cool.
There's a lot of practicals here too, as far as like the cords and the stuff that they're putting on his head, and they're all moving as he's like supposedly standing there and stuff. Awesome.
Super awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was just like wires, and they had like puppeteers moving the wires to make it look like there was a human head there moving around. Incredible.
It looks great. It looks so great.
So all the special effects in this movie, A+, man, for the time, is incredible. The gorilla becoming visible again, and all of his the way they like inject it, and like they spray the stuff on the arm to find it, and then hit the vein, and it like pops up, and they like stick it, and then it like starts going through the vascular system, right? Your cardiovascular system, and then it like starts to make your skeletal system
Yes.
like appear
Yeah.
like little by little, and then it starts to go into like your muscles and your tendons.
It was.
And it like does it one by one, and the way it looks
Yeah.
is really cool.
Really cool transformation. Very hard for me to watch, actually. That scene in particular
Sure,
was
animal
one that
abuse.
really bothered me. And so I can only imagine as a kid, I probably was like really messed up by it. But it's just very impressive. It was super cool.
Yeah. How'd you like that mouse scene?
Oh my god. No. It was awful. It was awful.
Yeah. Or the dog scene?
Dude, no. So that would be like, as I would probably give a trigger warning for this movie for animal violence, because I think that both, like, all of those are pretty upsetting. And if you're somebody who's like sensitive to animal violence in films, I think that this would be good to know.
He literally takes a dog and smashes it against a wall.
And even though the dog is invisible, like, you do see the thermo like of it, so you still see the shape of the dog. So I would kind of give that warning to people if you haven't seen this, although I know we're doing a spoiler discussion, so it's like
Some people
most
watch
people
these
will, but-
anyway. Yeah.
yeah, that kind of stuff in film is forever going to be a hard thing for me to watch, because I just don't want to. I don't want to watch it.
There's a lot of like what you get to see it technically on his body as he's fully, able to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of like CGI, somewhat invisible, like muscular, when he's like in his muscular state, there's like a lot of like muscular dick.
Sure,
And
there is.
I like that they included
Well-
that, because that's the kind of stuff they'd usually shoot it from like the waist up, but he's got like a dick flopping around in all the
Yeah.
scenes where he can be seen.
I think it's because it's like, it's scientific, or is it like it's not like a
It's
sexual,
Paul,
like
it's Paul
nobody's
Fahrenheit.
He's
He's just like going for it.
I mean, that's fine. I'm glad, because you also point out, which I didn't even think of, although 100%.
Yeah.
You're like, he's naked.
He has
in
to
the
be
end.
naked the entire
And I'm
film.
like, you're right. He's
Yeah.
naked. He's running around being an asshole and evil naked. Like,
Yeah.
for some reason, that makes it even worse,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we'll get into it, but obviously he has a line where he's like, you'd be surprised at what you can do when you don't have to look at yourself in the mirror anymore.
Great line.
Fantastic line, and it totally fits his character, but it's like, yeah, just being invisible. And like, this movie has a lot of similarities well, not a lot, but it has similarities to the remake of The Invisible Man, which is also a really terrifying film for me. So I've decided that I just don't like Invisible Men. Like, I just think that it's a bad combination. I don't think men should be allowed to go invisible. Specifically, I don't know what women would do, but at least right now, based on these two films, I'm gonna say they shouldn't be.
Yeah. I
think it leads to bad stuff.
So, I mean, obviously this is like a knockoff version of The Invisible Man, right? Like, and The Invisible Man title was taken, so it would be like copyright infringement. So they were like, what do we name this exactly? That being said, I do like the title, because to me it is a double entendre.
Yes, it is.
Right? At face value, it's like, oh, he's a hollow man because you can see right through him. And it's like, no,
Like,
he's a hollow man because he has no conscience.
none.
He has no
None.
remorse. He's hollow inside.
Yeah.
It's more, the title is more linked to his mental
Right.
state than it is, he's a hollow man before he goes invisible.
So, do you think, because they mention in
Yes.
this that
Yes.
the animals that are invisible,
Yeah.
their aggression
Yes.
increases, do you think that that's affecting him, or do you think
Yes.
because I do think it's affecting him too, but I also think that he's already an asshole before that even happens.
So I think as far as that goes, I think that there's like stages to being like a sociopath, psychopath, whatever. So I think there's people that are like totally normal and have no psychopathic tendencies, urges, whatever. Then there's those people who are like tiptoeing the line and are like, I know morally this is wrong, but like I kind of don't care. But I'm gonna play, and they like that I'm a normal person, and they walk that line and they mostly follow the rules.
Yeah.
And when pushed, when put into a certain situation or given freedom or whatever, they let that guard down. And I think that he's someone who kind of hovers around that line. He's this scientist who cares more about science than life.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
He's fine with killing animals, torturing them, and even like before he becomes an invisible guy, right, or a hollow man, he is like, when the gorilla's brought back, he's like, all right, cut it open, give me a sample of its brain.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, and she's like, there's this line back and forth of like, he's just kidding, and he's like, yeah, I'm just kidding. But I really need that. And then she's like, haha, and he's like, I'm a jerk. But he wants it.
Oh,
he doesn't care.
Does.
He's totally fine killing all these animals.
Absolutely.
He kill a person. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. And I think the effects of the invisibility treatment that does agitate its host does take him that one step further.
I agree.
So now what it would do to a completely normal person, it would probably bring them to where he is when the movie starts.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, maybe, yeah. They get to that point where they're just like, they don't have...
They're like, oh, I shouldn't do that, but I kind of want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think that is kind of how his character is set up that way. Like, he is a sociopath, and then the effects make him like a psychopath.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot of rapey stuff in this film
Very.
too, which is maybe another mild triggering thing for people, or for me, I should say. But I was very
a lot of
uncomfortable.
sexual assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable with a lot of that because it's just gross. It's really gross.
It is.
Like, ew.
It is. But I mean, I like it because this is the only Invisible Man film up until this point that did the obvious. That some men, especially someone like this,
Yeah.
would take advantage of that in a very sexual way.
Yeah.
And like the old classic monster movie of the Universal days, they'd never do sexual assault in a movie
Right.
or whatever. And it's like, if you had a sociopath
Oh.
go invisible, one of
Oh.
the main like ideas of like when you tell a guy, especially like a teenager,
Oh, sure.
like what would you do if you went in, if you could go invisible?
You're like, I'm gonna go
Their
into
first thing
women's
is like, I'm gonna
dressing
go
rooms.
into I'm gonna go into a woman's like locker room.
It's so scary. Like, just the thought of somebody invisible standing in your, like, room or your locker room while you're changing and just watching you.
Sure.
Like, even if they don't do anything, even
Because
just watching you. Because it's such an invasion
it's
of privacy.
It's also like a very science fiction version, extreme version of like almost gaslighting.
Yeah.
Where like you can't prove they're there,
Right.
so you feel like a crazy person.
And that's exactly
right?
why the Invisible
And
Man remake is
that's
so
like the
fantastic.
gaslighting of that's what's so horrible about gaslighting is that you're convincing this person that the truth they know is their sanity being called into question.
It's an
It's
evil,
like, what do you mean?
evil thing
Oh,
to
babe,
do.
you catch them like with another woman. It's like, I don't, you didn't see what you think you saw.
Oh my God.
Right? And you're like, am I crazy? Like,
Dude.
oh my God, he's so sure of himself.
I unfortunately like have a lot of experience with that, but it's he does that in this film with the women where like, and even like he fakes a monitor on him so that they think that he's not leaving, so he's like to everybody, he's fucking with everybody's head.
Yeah, he goes and one of the chicks in this movie like pulls open her top
Yeah.
and like fondles her tit and like is pulling at her nipple.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up and then she looks at the monitor and you see there and it's like,
And
I'm crazy, I guess.
The other thing too, okay, because we didn't talk about this yet, but when he has the latex mask on,
oh my God,
terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm sure little me was just like, what it's so scary. And there's moments where, like, when she's, like, hooking stuff up, it's that same girl, the animal doctor. And she's like, are you looking at me? And he's like, no. And it's like,
yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
no!
Scary.
Because, like, when you're interacting with somebody and they're, like, staring at your tits or, like, giving you a certain facial expression that is, like, inappropriate or rude or vulgar or whatever.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any of that. Like, she can't see how he's looking at her. And it's super scary.
It's very, it's very reminiscent of, like, Michael Myers. It's that, like, it's like that featureless face that's, like, the uncanny valley kind of feel of, like, you recognize it as human, but there's something off about it where you're like, there's, and obviously, as we all know, eyes are the windows to the soul. Right? And Michael doesn't, like, it's kind of blacked out.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see his eyes in certain scenes to a degree, and they're,
but he
like,
has
dead
the devil's
eyes.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, mostly they're, like, blacked out,
Yes.
so you get this, like, human feature of a face. And it's the same here where you're looking into it, and this is another really cool effect where you can see straight through to the back of the mask.
Yes.
And every time he moves, there's, like, no flaws in that. It's amazing.
It's really, really good.
But you're seeing this face, but it's hollow.
Yeah.
Right? And that's obviously part of it. But, like, I love the title because his mask and everything is hollow.
Yeah.
But he as a character is hollow as well. So
It's a great
it's
title.
really smart. But, like, just when they're looking through his face, and it's like there's kind of a face there, but there's kind of not.
Yeah.
And, like, you always have to wonder, is he in the room? Like, he'd be sitting right here with us right now.
Oh my God.
And we don't know. Or sitting right now next to Taylor.
No, I don't
And
like
you don't know.
it.
It's just, it is. It's like a ghost. But he's not.
But an evil man.
Yeah, he's definitely a creep. Terrible. But I will say the music in this movie is bad. I was really, really not liking it.
You didn't like when he was, like, driving and, like, singing?
The music in this movie is horrendous. Like, I'm not talking about the score. I'm talking about the soundtrack. Like, the music he listens to and he's singing to.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Awful stuff. This is, like, the worst version of 90s music imaginable. Even though this movie came out in 2000, this is 90s music, and it's the worst. It's like, what do we have royalty-free rights to?
Right. It sucks because they could have picked, like, plot-relevant songs
Like
to have him sing.
Pearl Jam's Nothing Man?
I haven't heard that song, but the
be
title
cool.
sounds like it would fit. And, But yeah, like, having plot-relevant songs for him to sing. Like, I love when films do that, when the music is, ties into the theme, of course.
It's cool to see Greg Grunberg here. He's in every fucking thing. Shout out to Snap Wexley from the Star Wars movies. But he's like, I feel like, I don't know exactly what his intentions are, but he very much feels like kind of a typical guy who's mostly playing around, but it does feel to an extent like he's encouraging him to be like a creep, a peeping Tom of some sort, but I also get this feeling of like, it's just guys being guys.
That's,
like, take a peek at any titties?
Yeah, that's...
Like, I would definitely say that to my brother if he went invisible.
But I got that sense, too, that he was like, it's like a normalized thing that guys would talk about, but it's that normalization that is so dangerous because even if you're a guy that would never actually do that and it's just like a fantasy of like, of course, if I could go invisible or whatever, like, there are people that would do that. And those people, like, that's what's happening in that situation, I feel like.
So here's where you and I would definitely differ on this specific thing. So when it comes to his neighbor, if you're a woman who lives in a very open glass window building and you're walking around your apartment in either like skimpy lingerie, like see-through bras, a bra, or naked, and you're like put off by people looking at you through your window, no. This is where I'm gonna be like, absolutely not. If I was, okay, as much as I would try not to. If I had a neighbor right here, I'm looking at this fucking house right here, they had a huge open window, and the shades were completely open, and this like really attractive naked woman was walking around in there, I would like to believe I would be like, oh no, that I can't look. But I'd be like, I couldn't help myself. And it's like, that's not an invasion to me personally, because I'm like, you are literally walking around showing this to people. You know your fucking window is open.
Well, yeah.
If someone is like, you know, digging a peephole into your wall and watching you're being
Freaking
private,
Norman.
of course, this is horrible. Of course, that is an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
But if you walk down the street naked and people
Yeah.
are looking at you,
So
that is not peeping
I
on
think-
somebody. And I get that they're in their house, but when
Yeah.
the windows are wide open and they're walking, because this girl comes home every day and immediately strips her clothes off and is walking around her very open apartment in the nude,
yeah.
basically. There's no fucking way dudes are not looking. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it's not. I don't care. Close your fucking windows. Close your blinds.
I don't disagree with you about that. I do think that, like, if you are uncomfortable with the idea of people looking at you, whether you're a man or a woman, and you're walking around your place, like, naked or half-dressed, like, yeah, you need to have your windows closed. Like, that's
Of
why they're
course.
there. So I think if they're open and you're... Because there are people... And that's... with what you're saying, like, so... Because I'm obviously also attracted to women, and if there was like it doesn't matter, hot woman, hot man, if they were getting like naked across from us, I don't really have the voyeuristic like part of me though. Like I wouldn't want to watch them. Like it would make me uncomfortable that they were naked, because I'm somebody that like sex has to be like, I need to be very much in the mood
Right.
for it, and there's
And
like a whatever, right?
There has
and,
to be a. They have to give you permission.
and I need permission from them for sure.
And I do too,
And-
of course,
no,
for
I know,
sex.
I know, but
very
there's
much need
there's
permission.
like I know, but like with you and I and like a lot of people, you know, like physical like attraction and like seeing somebody, like it doesn't matter, like the sexuality is already there, and like that's not something that clicks for me, but that's beside the point. What you're saying about the windows being open and closed, like I do agree with that, and I think that she, even though she's on like a higher floor, like there's clearly like apartments or whatever across from her, so it's not like she's free of peeping toms,
Peering eyes and
peering
peeping toms
eyes,
is what you're
yeah.
gonna put together.
So
I'm not saying
it's dangerous to
I'm
do
not
that.
saying what I would be doing is correct or right.
No, but you
I'm
would
just
have
saying I'm not gonna be dishonest here and say, oh, I wouldn't look. I would.
No, I don't
would.
think that
I would
you would look
really
maliciously.
try
Yeah.
not to, honestly, but I would lose that battle. And it would, and I
Sure.
would say like, there are times I've walked around the house like naked and the window was open and I didn't mean for it to be open, but if anybody saw me, that's my fucking fault.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And
mean,
if I
that's-
looked over and some dude was like staring at me, I'd be like, I did that to myself.
Yeah.
you know, I
the
would be like,
difference
yeah, you may
too,
be a pervert, but
obviously,
I did that to
is
myself.
that like you having somebody, like men and women obviously have very different experiences on that. Like if you're a woman and there's somebody watching you, even like, because I've never been like fully, well, maybe I've been naked, but there's definitely been a few times
You've been
even
naked.
here, yeah, where it's like the window's open and I'm like trying to run across or whatever.
Sure.
But if somebody
That's
saw
different.
me, I would be like, okay, that's my fault. But I would also be really scared and freaked out by it, because it can be very dangerous for women to be perceived as sexual objects,
Of
right?
course.
Like, and yeah.
I just took it the way that this plays, the way the chick comes home, and of course this is like a sensualized, sexualized version, right? But the way that this is shown in the film, it feels like the chick, to a degree, wants to be watched. The way she
Yeah, I
comes home
agree.
and constantly strips down and the windows are open and she's like playing with her bras and stuff, I'm like, come on, you're wanting someone to look. That's that, and I know some people would say that is like pervert justification of like, oh, she wants to be objectified.
But there are
I'm not-
people that
There are people
that
like
want
that.
you to look at them.
Yes,
That's totally a kink that a lot of people probably have.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and
But
somebody
it's-
watching without them knowing is also a thing. So.
This also reminds me of that. Oh God, what was it? It was like a CSI episode or Law and Order SVU, I think, where this girl like has a rape kink. No, it's a okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm completely mixing that up. It's a it's a comedian. I remember seeing that in a Law and Order SVU episode where the girl has her boyfriend rape her, but then it goes too far, and the boyfriend's like trying to argue in court of like, she wanted me to rape her, like she gave me permission, and she was like, yeah, but you took it too far, kind of thing. And he's like, how was I supposed to? No, there was a comedian who was like, the girl was upset with him because she has a rape kink, but she has a rape kink she doesn't want to tell him about. So she was like upset with him because he didn't try to rape her. And he was like, I'm not going to just rape you on the off chance that you're into it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? So anyways, that really got me, because I'm going to tell you guys, as much as we talk about like the Me Too movement and the always believe the woman and all that stuff, and I'm totally a supporter of most of that, the majority of it. I'm not always going to throw my hat into any ring, because I think there always is two sides.
Yeah.
That being said, in my very limited experience, honey, very limited, I will tell you, a lot of women in my very limited experience have a rape kink. I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know what that stems from. It might just be the culture that we live in, that there's so many rapey guys. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you, though.
It's like a defense mechanism.
There is a lot. Yeah, they're like, well, I'm going to get raped. I guess I better be into it. I better get, prepare myself now. No. They're not. So, the rape king, just so we're clear here, no woman okay, maybe a very, very small amount actually want to be actually raped. That might be a thing. That is not what I'm saying. So don't get any ideas, guys, that I'm talking to right now.
Oh
no girl
God.
wants to actually be raped.
No.
They want to be raped
by an attractive
by their fucking
partner,
lover,
yeah.
by their person they gave permission to. So it's not technically rape, but it's a fantasy rape. It's like, I give you permission to rape me.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck that is. It's something that we genuinely almost never talk about. For some reason, there's like no discussion about this I've ever seen online or otherwise. Very, very little.
Yeah.
But this is a massive thing with a lot of chicks. I'm not saying it's all of them at all. It's not even close to all of them.
No, but I think a lot of women are, into more dominant men. And I think that that's obviously a way for their partners to be dominant. And there's obviously, it's sexy, like when you're given permission already for somebody to like take advantage of you or whatever. And
this is a very serious topic we're talking about. I'm not trying to make levity of this at all, because in my very, very limited experience, like with the one girl I've ever been with in my life, but just anecdotally from other people I've talked to, it's fucked up, because probably half of those women that I did not sleep with had been raped or sexually assaulted.
But
so it wasn't like something where they were like, oh, like I've never had it happen to me.
No, that's actually very normal,
which
though.
is,
that is,
it's like they want to normalize it to be able to digest it or something. I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze something I can't possibly understand, but that's all I've got.
No, that's actually very common for women who've experienced sexual assault it's their brain's way of protecting them from it, because the trauma
that makes sense.
is awful. So it's like if you sexualize it, but that's how so many kinks start, is from something kind of traumatic or like weird.
Sure.
And it is your brain's way of protecting you. So, yeah, but
there's a lot of like questionable stuff happens in this movie, and a lot of sexual assault. So I think this is where this conversation
is
felt
coming from.
The most natural.
Yeah.
To talk about.
He's awful, though. He is like doing everything against people's permission.
Oh, yeah.
All of it is an invasion of privacy. He's really gross, like when he's pushing himself on his ex-girlfriend and is just like trying to like make out with her, and like all of that is just Yeah. It's really gross. And also I think Kevin Bacon is a really good actor, but I don't like the way he looks.
Yeah, she thinks he has like fetal alcohol syndrome, which I don't even know what that means.
I don't know either.
That's what she said.
I
was like,
said it.
What?
I was just like, I always hear people saying that as like a insult.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know what it means.
I was like, that's
he's fine.
weird.
He's not like ugly. I just don't think he's attractive.
No.
But I do think he's a really talented actor. And obviously attraction, it doesn't matter. Like there's people out there that think he's super handsome, and you know?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not going to help his case when he's a rapist.
No.
Right?
Like, maybe if he was a sexy rapist, I would be like...
See? See what I'm talking about?
Maybe if it was Josh Brolin instead, then I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, he's a much better
That's only
because
he kind of looks like you.
He does. Okay. And I think we spent most of our time talking about that. So,
I know. We have,
I mean, this would be kind of a hard superpower to have because you do have to remain naked. This does remind me of The Boys, right?
Yeah.
Where translucent
is
always naked. And he
Yeah.
he can come in and out, but he's always nude, and there's all this sexual harassment stuff going on around him.
Yeah.
Very similar. And,
Yeah.
and it is. It's like, unless he can also take like some kind of shot that makes him impervious to like cold and environmental damage. Like being invisible isn't going to really help unless you live in like California where it's like
Right,
72 degrees at all time.
Yeah.
Right? Because like if he's in a cold climate or a hot one or whatever, especially a cold climate, or like just like walking on the ground. It's good. That's why I was saying the hot climate. It's like walking around out in Phoenix on your bare feet. Fucking forget it. So all you got to do is like heat up the floor.
Yeah.
All you have to do is make it
Sure.
super, super cold. He does that. He drops it to like below 40 degrees in this. I felt like they should have had the Insane Clown Posse Magnet song in here when Elizabeth Shue was making this magnets.
Yeah.
How did they work? That song.
There's a lot. I
is
really
the dumbest
liked
shit I've ever
the.
listened to in my life.
Yeah, I think that the ending of this is really good. I like everything with her.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've been saying, it does turn into a slasher. She's essentially a final girl.
Their relationship is super weird in this.
It is. I mean, like, because even when I was saying, like, when he's pushing himself on her, she's like kind
of into it.
Like,
yeah.
it's gross.
Yeah.
But then she's also
she's got a rape kink.
It sort of it just kind of feels like she's wanting to hurt him even more. I think that's mostly what I was getting from it. The scene where he gets blood thrown on him is also super scary.
Yeah,
I
great
loved
effects.
that imagery. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I like that she escapes with the magnet, like with the door. I like when they're climbing the elevator shaft, and like all of that I felt was really tense and like just very actiony, and I think that the pacing of this film works really well. Like I was never bored. I didn't feel like there was any lulls happening. Like it just kind of beats hit perfectly.
Yeah, they have like these thermal goggles.
Yeah.
Which a lot of the movies shot in like it looks like Predator vision.
Yeah.
And then he thwarts that by making the temperature the same in the room as his skin.
Yes.
But I also think it's hard to tell who's who, but that's only because they're like showing people from here up. It's probably easy to tell who's who in the room when the naked guy is running around. You're like, oh, I see a dick.
I know.
I think it's that guy. That's who
him.
the killer is.
Yeah.
The dude like falls and cracks his head open.
Oh,
and
gnarly.
He cracks
That's
his Brolin
neck.
and it's his neck, right?
No, that's the other guy.
How does Brolin's neck get cut? Or no, he gets stabbed.
He gets
stabbed, and then a doctor pulls it out immediately. Which
right. Yeah, that was dumb. No, that's the other guy that was like talking about being invisible and like looking at girls.
Great
He's the
Ripper.
one.
Yeah. He gets his head cracked. That's a pretty gnarly looking fall. I liked that. Some of the kills are pretty lame, but I don't know how Brolin like bleeds out and then somehow like is just fine, and he's like climb and he's like doing a bunch of like very physical things. I'm calling bullshit on all of that.
Yeah, I don't think that would work.
But whatever. I'm also calling bullshit on the video chat they're on in the beginning of this movie. A 2000s video chat looking that clear.
Yeah.
I can't even get that clear of video chats now.
I know.
It's
always
like
funny to me.
It's like 4K resolution with no buffering issues, no pixelation. Video chat in 2000, dude, looked like you know, the footage that they used to show on like those wristwatches that were just like big
Dots.
like maybe 40 pixels.
Yeah, and you're like, I think that's a
I
face.
think that's maybe a person, maybe not, maybe a dog. So that was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he breaks that girl's neck while she's tranquilized.
Awful.
That's fucked up. And yeah, the elevator scene, him falling into the fire and all of that, and them getting out. I honestly kind of wanted her to die too. I thought she was kind of a shitty person. So I wasn't big on Linda. I wrote their names down: Sebastian, Linda, Matthew, Sarah. I wrote all their names down, but we never needed them.
No, we didn't. We were just like this person.
Well, the Hollow Man.
The Hollow Man.
Kevin Bacon, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool movie.
Really cool. How we watched it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
recommendation.
there is a Hollow Man 2.
Oh.
So with Christian Slater, and I do own it. So
That's interesting.
Maybe.
Should we watch it?
I don't know. Is it a slasher?
Is it worth it?
Can we do it for Slasher Sunday or not?
Yeah.
Let us know if you've seen it. I've never seen that one actually.
Huh.
So
Like
I'm sure it's vastly inferior.
I feel like it will be,
But maybe. So don't rape people.
Don't rape
That's
people.
not what I was saying
Don't rape
at
them.
all.
No.
And don't be a peeping Tom.
No.
This is not.
Don't
I'm
be
not.
an
I'm not trying to.
asshole.
I'm not trying to encourage any of this kind of behavior. I'm just being. I'm trying to have a candid conversation about real things,
Yeah.
and I hope they're not misconstrued. Don't be an asshole. Like me. Bye.
Bye.
What time is it?